Hello, 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 and welcome to Shared Space with Quida and Chap. For some reason, Chap thinks says Captain John Brown. Why does that say Captain John Brown, Chapo? I'll take
Well,
that.
if you got to ask, you
Hey,
better
y'all.
Google it.
Putting the information out in these streets. Okay, okay, Google me, baby. Okay. Do the thing. Do the thing. Hey, hi, hello, folks. I am Laquita Chansey. I am the founder and director of Baltimore Homes. And we are here with Shared Space. Chapo was going to hop back on. He was saying that, he was saying he was having some issues with his IT and such. But today we have a couple of folks. Okay, he's going to restart and join us in a little bit. I know Seema is joining us later. Chap has someone that may be joining us. I wanted to talk about the intergenerational healthy housing workshops that were held this weekend, sponsored by Fulton Bank as well as uh, Maryland. The Harbor Bank of Maryland is what they call themselves. Yes, it was a good turnout. We did budgeting and family business plans. We did a reality fair where folks had to create budgets and go around the room. We talked about different types of insurances, renters insurance, life insurance, different car values, different housing values, and then entertainment. What about the groceries? Are we shopping at your Save-A-Lot? Are we buying organic? Are we buying in bulk? There were a lot of different things that we had to consider. You can check that out on the Baltimore Homes Instagram. We went live for a good portion of that. Looks like Chap is about to hop on and Bev is going to hop on. So we'll see how it goes on and on. We're also hosting the weekly wellness walk this coming Sunday. That is Walk with a Doc. It's a national program. We host it at Lake Montebello. So Walk with a Doc Be More is Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. We have a doctor come out and talk about wellness, whatever their specialty is. We do some movement, some mindfulness, and then we walk around the lake halfway and walk back. If you know anything about Lake Montebello, at the moment it has a sinkhole. So we can't walk all the way through, but we still get the job done and do some community conversations to make sure that we're talking to folks and we know who's joining us. So sooner or later, Chap is going to hop back on. We have Bev hopping on with us. Seema is going to join us about halfway through. But yeah, so the intergenerational healthy housing at Center for Urban Families, that was really dope. We're going to do it again probably sometime in Q3. There was also another event going on for Father's Day. Um, Senator Antonio Hayes, I believe he's Senator Antonio Hayes, came out. Who else was out there? There was a bunch of folks. Joe Jones, who is I want to say he's the executive director, CEO of Center for Urban Families. Dion from Fulton Bank was there. Hey, Chapo, you back with us? We good?
I
We
think I'm
good?
lagging a
Testing, testing.
little. I think I'm lagging a little bit. I'm trying to work on it.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I think we're gonna be fine. And then he just keeps popping in and out, y'all. Y'all see how he does me? Like I don't even understand how this is supposed to work. Okay, so intergenerational healthy housing, walk with a doc. What else do we have going on? First, Saturdays we host community food distribution, clothing distribution. All of that happens at the corner of South Broadway and Bank Street over here in East Baltimore. And there is a food distribution. No, there's farmers market. Farmers market every Wednesday now in the Govans area. by Loyola, that Rite Aid right there. Um, Holla at my girl Ginger. She does some awesome fresh squeezed juice. Had some this weekend. Also on Sundays, Ginger's folks who are the helpers, the keepers, the keepers. They distribute food from not food but produce from the farmers market at the corner of Northwood and something, but it's right there by Northwood Library, and that is on Sundays at 1:30. You come out there and get your food, get your produce, bring a bag to put your fresh produce in. I got me some good arugula and mushrooms last time. Let me see. What else do we have going on here? We also have the wellness. Oh, who's that? Okay. It looks like Chap is figuring it out. He's doing the most backstage, y'all. You should just see him. Hey, Chapo. All right. So you got on?
I
You
think I'm.
good?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
So what have you been up to? Go ahead. As a matter of fact, Chapo, introduce yourself now that people can see you and hear you.
Say again.
Go ahead and introduce yourself,
Oh,
Chapo.
sorry. Yeah, sorry guys. I'm on the move today. I'm down at the Agogi Project on 3205 Bel Air Road. Um, we had an anti-gun violence meeting around the corner actually at 5 p.m. at the old Bremer's Lane. It's called Bel Air Edison now. I had a meeting with I think Living Classrooms called a meeting with Safe Streets and all the people getting all the grant money, and they're having the same conversations. And so that um, was what it was. Hopefully they asked the so they asked for it, but they asked some of us truth speakers to share what the needs were in the community, and so we told them. They didn't really like it, but I think it was a little wake up call for them. And they said that's what they wanted. They wanted to continue the conversation. So we'll see. We'll see if they come through after the meeting or this week they come through the gym. I hope so. Part of this is just my personal experience, and this is not trashing anybody. But if I needed Safe Streets, when I've needed Safe Streets, it's impossible to contact them. Their Google numbers are all disconnected. Numbers you get from people like your councilman and stuff, they're no good. Um, I don't really see them. When I shared these things, they got real defensive, gave me a resume of all the things they've done, and I'm like, well, we haven't seen you. And I'm not speaking just in my perspective, but everybody at the table, we're like, where have you been? What are you spending these $50 million on? Because it's not making it to the community. Like, even pointing out something simple like the food at the community meeting was from Subway instead of Sharif's or Gill's or Jamar's Place or Bel Air Food or Sapa's Pizza, right? So like your whole mentality, you're just getting this money and you giving it to Subway instead of spending it in our community. So if you're spending your little money to host events, you're not spending it in the community. You're definitely not thinking about spending the grant money in the community. So and that's where I'm at today. That's why I signed in as John Brown today because I'm just Brown, Captain John Brown. I'm just that's the vibe today. But no, I was looking forward to meeting the guest today. And I think Beverly, she has a show on BlackUSA.News. She might hop on and co-host with us.
Yep, Bev is ready. She's about to come on. I'm gonna go ahead and bring Beverly on.
Brilliant. Hey, love.
Hey, Bev.
Hey,
Yep.
hello.
How are you? And it looks like Seema's ready to come on too, so we'll pull her on in a second. But go ahead, Beverly. Tell us about your show. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, awesome. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be here. My name is Beverly Francis. I just like my brother Chap says, I have a show I host on BlackUSA.News. My show is hosted on Sundays at 8 a.m. And it's called the Beverly Francis Show. We typically talk. We have guests that come on. Let me just back up. I'm from DC. I am an author. I have a nonprofit organization that work with victims of violence and families who are healing from trauma. And specifically, I am the chapter lead for Voices of Black Mothers United, which is a national organization that works with grieving mothers who lost their children to gun violence. So a lot of our guests that come on the show are, moms who not I don't want to say it like that, not just moms who have who are grieving, but moms who have turned their pain into purpose. So
Okay.
really a show about resilience. So we share a lot of information on resources and, just giving testimonies of overcoming obstacles. We have some difficult times right now. So that's what we talk
Absolutely.
about on the show. So definitely want to invite anyone who have a story that been through some things and, is not allowing it to stop them, but actually using it to help them thrive.
Right. Right. That's awesome. So, do you guys host any programs or opportunities for folks to engage with your organization in addition to your show? Is there a way that people can support you out in the community?
Yes. So, Mama Safe Haven, we are a nonprofit organization. I'm the founder and executive director. Like I said, we're located in Southeast DC. We host, we have a resilience academy. So we are working with youth. So we work with victims as well as the perpetrators, which is a lot of times in our community, we've seen a hike in our youth committing crimes. So we are partnering with Office of Victim Service Justice Grants to provide flex funds to support our youth, to encourage, recidivism so they won't keep going back and, giving them reasons to commit these crimes. So we also host support groups. And we do retreats. So we take individuals out of the city to Massanutten for up to 7 nights, 8 days, just to relax in the woods. It's a free trip. So shout out to all of our many sponsors. And one that I definitely want to mention is Battle Transportation, Black owned transportation company. And definitely would love for everyone that needs transportation to reach out to Battle Transportation.
Battle
But
Transportation in DC.
and DC. They
Okay.
are legit. It's just really, we're all about partnership. So,
Right.
not just those who need the services, but those who offer services, we are looking to
Right.
partner with them as well. So yeah, they can go to our website at Mama Safe Haven, and it's MOMMAS safehaven.org to find out more information and to join us.
I love that. I mean, so the thing here is I also have a nonprofit, and one of the things that I often say is that I can't do this work alone.
That's
Like,
right.
and if I'm doing it alone, I'm probably doing it wrong. And the same goes for anybody else who's doing it wrong, especially if it's a nonprofit, community based, justice seeking, equity seeking. We're just trying to fill in the gap in so
Mhm.
many ways. And in those ways, we have to bring in the resources as well as have the people there that need them. So I love that you're like making that a point. And so you said Battle Transportation in DC this weekend. I was talking up Borden Transportation here in Baltimore. I need them to pick up folks and bring them to my events because
Mhm.
we have like the way these red lines and the systemic separation of neighborhoods and resources go. My resources are coming from East Baltimore, and my folks live in East Baltimore. They still need some love, but West Baltimore has no resources in comparison, right? And so whenever I'm doing programming in the West Baltimore where they need the services, it's too hard for the people to show up. It's like after we do this, we can't go grocery shopping, we can't run to the bank. It's nothing to do over here, and it just trying to make it so that it's convenient for people to get the help that they need
Yeah.
without causing more trauma and drama, right?
Mhm. That makes sense. And it's the West Side sound like War 8 here in DC. how, I do want to say that Ward 8, we are, have been receiving, I'll say in the last year, it's been a lot of services. They've been hearing the need a lot, and so they've been bringing the resources. One of the things that we did, because that was a huge issue for us, being in Southeast, but we have families in Northwest that need services in different wards. We have 8 wards here. However, it was really hard, even though we do have public transportation. Sometimes it's just not safe. Sometimes it's just a lot of stuff that comes into, the barriers of people getting to the program, just like what you were saying. So what we did was we went and just wrote a grant to be able to, responded. I'll say it like that. We responded to an RFP, and we put in there a 15 passenger van.
Mm-hmm.
To get a 15 passenger van to kind of help, even though 15 passengers is not enough space. You have to take a couple of trips, but it does help, with field trips
Right.
and small groups and different things like that. But battle transportation is one that definitely reach out, and you said y'all have one in Baltimore that supports, or you said you're going to reach out to them.
Yes, so they're not called Battle, but they're Borden
Oh, okay.
Transportation, and they
Okay.
are also Black owned. I
Okay.
believe they're woman owned too, but I could be making that up.
Okay.
So let me see. It looks like Seema is in the background. I'm gonna bring Seema on, and we're
Uh-huh.
gonna see how her audio is, because she and Chap, they've been having some issues, but that's okay. We are gonna make it through this. We are gonna get it working. Hey, hi, hello, Seema. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. It's a little choppy for me, but can you hear me?
All gravy, baby.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, then let's go.
Yeah, so Beverly also has a nonprofit, and we were talking about some of the barriers to getting folks to our programming. And then also, she mentioned some of the ways to solve those barriers. Go ahead and put in an RFP or ask for a grant, or, like you said, write in a 15 passenger van. What I'm looking for is a bank to sponsor boarding. Just cut
Mm,
the check, give it to them. Like, however the money is going to get there, we need the people on the east side and the west side to co-pollinate and share the resources and all the good things. So,
mm.
Seema, thank you for joining us. Do
Good
you
to
want to
see
go
you.
ahead and introduce yourself and whatever organization you want to represent today? Because you are a woman of many hats, like many of us. Go ahead.
Well, thanks so much for the invitation. It's so good to see what you do. I've known you for a couple years now and watched you from afar. But the reason why I met you originally was because I oversaw a project called the Baltimore Neighborhood Indicators Alliance, where we created a lot of data for neighborhoods for organizations like yours, to better understand the context that you might be doing work in. You try to open a business in Lauraville, it's going to be a different experience than if you try to, open it in Morrill Park or Howard Park or different parts of the city. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that you have to understand the context that you're in for your business to survive, as well as for the neighborhood to actually improve its own quality of life for whatever service you might be providing. Basically, you don't
Right,
want to put a square peg in a round hole, because that's not going to help
right.
anybody. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to help the neighborhood. And the data is really there to try and help people right size and make that work. So that's how we originally met. And I'd been doing that for about more than a decade. I've been in Baltimore for 20 years. I've been doing local neighborhood work for 20 years. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved neighborhoods, loved Baltimore. And but decided that I needed to do something a little bit more global. So now I oversee a data science innovation lab for the United States, the UN, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. So if you want to talk about refugees, we could do that. But I thought, now that I'm doing something very global, I still want to be highly connected locally. And so I bugged you. I said, if I were going to start a business, I would start the one that you started. So I'm not going to start it too. I'm just going to basically be your lackey and do whatever you need to make your business successful. And
And
here we
I
go.
appreciate that. Right? Like the ancestors, the universe, God, Jesus, all the things. They are giving me exactly what I need. I didn't even like it was just one day like magicalness. I know Beverly, I'm sure that happens to you every day in your work. Like we just put it out there and people like send us gifts because we're trying to give back to the community. So yeah, thank you for that, Seema. I
Well,
appreciate
I
that.
think it goes both ways because, I there was something that I wanted to do too, and it had to work for you too. Um,
Right.
so, I think because we knew each other, we knew that we'd have some complementary, um, assets and skills, and that we could work as a team. But you and I have had to work every week. We meet every Friday at 4 o'clock and work through things, getting to know each other. And I think it's been amazing. I'm grateful for that. But it had to be something that worked for you as well. So I'm equally
Right.
grateful.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, Beverly, how do you find your board members? Did they find you or did you find them?
Actually, that's a good question. I gave birth to them.
Easy does it, right? Keep it in the family. Make it simple. You said these are people that I've raised and seen and created, so I know that they got my back. I love it.
And we have a advisory board that that really does a lot of some of the heavy lifting, but when it come down to our board of directors, I have a 30-year-old daughter. I also have a 27-year-old daughter, and they are very, my daughter is very, I'll say, not say I'll say, but she's very professional when it comes down
Mhm.
to um finances. That's the line of work that she's in. She's in childcare, but she always wanted to do accounting. So this
Mhm.
kind of helps her out in her accounting. And she's a mom and has a daycare center at home. So she's able to kind of help out with just making sure that we have a lot of things that we need. We did have, I will say, when we first started out, I didn't start out with my children. It was actually, I am recently divorced, so my ex-husband and two of his best friends was actually the original board. So
And was this his passion or your passion?
So you know what? It was something that I was doing. My background is actually early childhood as well. So working with children is something that I've been doing for my whole life. And when I lost my sister to a drug overdose, and she left
Mhm.
7 children, out of the seven, five are super talented. And so they were in there just dancing, and my nickname is Mumu. So they say, "Oh, Mumu, look at this dance." They put on a show for me at dinner time, and I just got to thinking, like, what happened to the talent shows? I just felt like I haven't seen a lot of talent shows. So that's kind of how Mama Safe Haven was introduced to the community. We did a talent show, and everyone, we had probably about 40, 50 youth that performed on stage. And everybody was just super supportive. I mean, it was just, you would have thought it was Beyonce or somebody on stage, how many people showed up to support the youth and the energy of it. They was like, you can't stop this. You just have to keep going. But, my passion with my son have uh really had some challenges in life. He's 29, but he had some challenges early on, just being wanting to be a part of the crowd and really just being a menace to society. To be honest with you, he caught his first charge at 12. I never condoned his behavior. So he been in and out of the juvenile system, and just really trying to wrap my mind around some of the thinking and how, as a mom, to be able to support him without condoning the things that he's doing. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of how Mama Safe Haven got started, with working with, my passion of working with children, and then understanding being a mom with some, busy children, and knowing that we needed that support. But as it relates to our board members, I feel like, it was really organic. I would say, if anyone out there looking for board members, is just, this is hard work, not hard work. So understanding that their heart have to be in it, and it's not, nonprofit is really about giving and your time and energy without looking for anything in return, so to speak. So yeah, just kind of checking off those things when looking for a board member, and that's even with
Right.
our advisory board. That
Hmm.
Yeah, so we have lawyers and different people who does different things in the community that operates on that we meet with monthly to just tap in with best practices in our field.
Yeah, just kind of keep you in line. Like that's kind of where I'm going through now. I went from my mom and pop board and transitioning to a working board. So I'm so thankful to have Seema like push me along, and she understands the data and has worked with the institutions and can speak the language. But also to your point, she has a heart for it. Like I tell her every time, I'm like, I'm afraid to build the board. I'm afraid to pull the people in. I'm afraid because I don't want anybody to harm my little baby. Like we really do want to eradicate homelessness. You know what I mean? I don't want them to tarnish the name or harm the baby or, give a bad influence. And so I'm, again, thankful for Seema because she also thinks differently. I'm like, I'm out here replacing tents. It's crazy that people are living in tents. She's like, well, let's decriminalize them. Let's find space where tents are allowed. Let's designate space. Let's Seema, come off mute. Tell us some of the things that we're working on. Like we have a Rex and Parks event coming up. That will be June 23rd. We are finalizing the time. It'll be in the afternoon.
Come join us. So
Yeah, but go
the
ahead.
goal, we both have this idea that the only way that we're going to actually allow and enable people to live in the kind of houses that they can afford is actually having houses and shelters of different price points because people have different incomes. People are going to afford different kinds of housing. And that is okay in the world. That is okay in Baltimore. But whatever kind of housing stock you have should be safe, should be comfortable, should be something that you can truly call home. But I don't care if, it's a tent to a mansion. In the end, what you have is you're sitting on a piece of land. Whatever the land is that you're on, you might start off with a tent and you might make that into a small to home, or you then might make it into two small to more homes put together and make it into a little small to mansion. I don't know. So I don't, and that's actually typically when you think about how anybody lives in their house, they continuously improve their house, right? No matter what kind of house you have, you'll update the kitchen and you might bump out, and make a bigger bathroom, or that happens over time organically, no matter where any of us live. I actually got this pretty good. We talked about Trevor Noah's book. I was reading that, and he grew up in the slums of Soweto. But if you actually read the book, I highly encourage people to read Born a Crime. It's really funny. He's terrific. But what he said is, that his grandmother never moved. It was like a terrible house, but slowly, as the family gained resources, the house got better and bigger and more stable. And they had a metal roof instead of a thatched roof. They had an in-home bathroom after a while. But for Trevor, what was nice is that he never moved. It was the same place. It was very stable in that sense. He had other kind of instabilities in his family life, but the place was always the same. And, look what happened to him. It became a launching pad for an amazing career. And that's when you think about, where you live, it's so much more about the stability of place. And then, we want to help make sure people have a good place to live. So a small to more home is an excellent option. And we are working on trying to make sure that we start to demonstrate that in Baltimore. So come join us on June 23rd, because we want to try and show people that, camp style living is actually a legitimate way to live. And that could change. It doesn't have to be a permanent way to live, but it's a legitimate way to live. And wherever you end up living in the middle of a city, camping is an actual option. And so Rec and Parks has a campground that they're trying to resurrect and rehabilitate, and we are going to help people go see what that looks like. So I think it's like not only, it's like 200 yards from a like a house from a regular
Right.
kind of subdivision, and we're going to walk and we're going to finally find a campground. And I think that's amazing. So trying to find like-minded people that want to try and see camping become legal in Baltimore.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Right. It's like we have to think differently. We have to be innovative, right? Because we see the tents everywhere.
Yeah.
I live in Howard Park, and there's a tent down the street on Gwynn Oak Road. It's actually really sad, you know, because it's literally a person living on the side of the road on a tent, which, you know, they're just looking for stability, right? But they have no access to a bathroom. They have no access to a shower. They have no postal site, like if they wanted to collect the mail. And these are all things that we can enable if we really start to innovate and think about. Imagine if you had, you know, legitimate tents and you had a common shower and a common bathroom and you gave them a postal address. Right? They can start
Right.
to get their lives back in order. And then
Right.
slowly the tent might become, like I said, a Smaltimore home. You know, they gain a little bit of, you know, money, and then they can do that. And a Smaltimore home is a very affordable option as like the next step. And then, you know, like they might put 2 on their plot after a while and make it a bigger. So I think that is the way, you know, really organic, kind of grassroots developed neighborhoods. We have to have that be an option in Baltimore.
Absolutely. And again, we see the tents everywhere. So it's not like it can be negated, denied, or anything. And so instead of it being an eyesore or a public health issue, and I say public health because the trash folks ignore it. Like you said, there's no running water, which means there's no flushing toilets, which means there's human waste somewhere near these places. And that's a public health issue. So these are things that can easily be addressed because the services are literally already there, right? And now you're giving folks an address. And that's one of the first things you need to get an ID. You can't even get an ID without an address. And people often disconnect those things as if they can, you know, exist by themselves. So I love that FEMA is on board and giving some creative and innovative suggestions. We need to figure out a way that we can work with Beverly and get out to DC and do some campaigning out there, because I know there's tons of tents out there like in DC, but DC actually is more tolerable for tiny homes. I know that Mayor Bowser supports them. So that's something that we can think about and consider. Have you ever considered a tiny home, Beverly?
You know, I have. Well, not in real life. Like I want a tiny home now. But to be honest with you, I feel like I am a what do you call it? A minimalist. Like I'm
Hmm.
I can deal with like not having like 1,000 outfits, you know, because when you think about living in those small spaces, you can't have a lot of clothes. So in my mind, that's the first thing that I'm thinking, like, where am I gonna put all my clothes in my shoes?
I need a tiny home for
I
my
got the
shoes.
storage unit outside of the tiny house. Give me 2 tiny houses because I need one
Right.
tiny house space
For
for
the
all
clothes
of
and the
my
shoes.
clothes, right? So I mean, you know, I to be honest with you, I've even thought about like, you know, moving somewhere, not like island, like, you know, where I'm planting my own food. I don't need like
A lot.
really electricity. You know what I mean? Like you might need electricity, but at the same time, I kind of even took my mind to that. You know what I mean? In my mind, I kind
Hmm.
of thought about like that wouldn't be bad for like a week. I mean, camping. You know what I mean? It's like camping, but you know, when I think about the tiny houses, I think that when it comes down to the homeless, I think that that is great. You know, I've seen some people do some great things with like, you know, not, you know, old vehicles, you know, old vans that the engine is
Yep.
not running and they kind of gut it out and do some things with it. Um, it's very hurtful here. We have experienced a lot, of course, you know, we
Mhm.
experienced a lot of just like, you know, disregard to the homeless population. I'll never
Yeah.
forget, like in 2020, we went and we do a lot of feeding of, homeless, and just showing up with toiletries and blankets and things like that is one of the things that's really close. I was homeless for a while, even as a child. Me and my mom, my family, I've been living in shelters as a child. And even once I had my own children, I lost my mom, passed away 3 days after my 19th birthday, and it was very difficult for me to get back on my feet. And at that time, I had 3 kids at the age of 19 too. So I already had 2 kids and was pregnant and was in a shelter. So my heart really goes out to, I've experienced homelessness myself. So we went and fed the homeless, and like 3 days later, they, kind of like threw all their stuff away and made them leave the discampment. But one of the things that we were fighting for was, you know, electrical units, like you said, they had the portable toilets out there, right? They had some portable toilets, but it was one of those things where one of them had like a machine that needed to be plugged in, an oxygen tank or something like that. So we were fighting for some of those things, and instead of them helping, they kind of made them leave, and it was
Yeah, they used it as a reason to evict them, right?
right. That's what happened. So
But it's like you can't evict people who are unhoused. You are displacing them. They have nowhere to go. You are displacing a community of folks. I'm glad that you were able to at least advocate for them, even though it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to.
Yeah, the other thing I do want to add that DC Housing has been doing a great job. We have been stepping on their necks. I will say they have been doing a great job with opening up the housing list. And a lot of the properties in our community have been opening, even though it's really crazy the way they do it, because they put out this flyer and it's like, one day only, the waiting list is open, so you have people standing in line like 9 o'clock the day before for the morning, and only like 100 people. So we're talking to them, it's like, hey, at least you can let us know like how many residents you could take, so they can know like, hey, if I'm the 110th one, I need to get out of line, you know what I
Go
mean?
home. Yeah.
So they're doing a great job with getting people off the waiting list. They opened it up, and I think they brought in like at least, I think they said like 3,000 residents that they were trying to move in. They've been fixing the housing and having them down the MLK library and getting everybody registered. So they have been working. I will say that.
That's good. That's good. Seema and I, we've met with, I don't want to say anyone's name, but was that the zoning department that we met with? And they were basically like, don't start here, start somewhere else. Figure it out somewhere else. That's not our problem.
Where
So,
DC? Oh,
There's two issues. There's the technical issue, like can you keep the house secure? Do you need
oh,
a foundation, like the site and kind of the permissions on the site itself? So that's a different department. And then once you can secure the space and have it be, safe by our building code, which is a different unit, then it's okay. Can you actually do this legally? Which is the land use piece. And we're gonna figure it out. You talk to 5 people, you get 10 different answers, and only until we actually start to do it where we figure out how to make it work. And once we figure out how to make it work, we can help others. And we are on our way. We've identified a plot of land that is a good plot of land.
awesome.
We've started to fundraise. We actually already got $5,000 in the door, which is amazing because people are so interested in, supporting this kind of work and supporting Lakita. So we're trying to raise 35,000. We're at
Okay.
5,000 already. So I think what's nice is I'm a realist and I'm very practical. We have this goal that we've set for ourselves. We have very specific event. I don't want Lakita to kind of I'm not trying to get her to rip her hair out by the types of ideas that I have. I mean, we have those kind of ideas too.
That's awesome.
But that's like the 5-year plan, or maybe even hopefully not the 10-year plan, but maybe the 5-year plan. But
right.
To get to the 5-year plan, I always know that you got to start with the step one. Take the first step and make a quick win. So the $5,000 that came in the door is a quick win. it's a sign that we can do more. And, that's what I'm after. Slow and steady wins a race, but we have to think bold. We're not slow and
Yeah.
steady to think small. It's slow and
That's
steady
my
to
word.
be bold.
Bold. Bold. I'm telling you, that's the word. I think that's the word for 20. We just gotta be bold. I mean, what are we waiting for? That is, you know what? Thank you. That was just so dope. When you think
It
about,
was affirmation.
I know. I mean, but when I think about the expansion of, like you said, it's like, okay, how can we make this, where it's not, where they can go, how can we decriminalize this? How can we make it where we can build this out?
Right.
So that is really, I would say, just like a trend that should be spread throughout. See how we can, that model that you're doing there. And so I know that you all are writing down all of the different steps so we can pass that model along, because the land is here. That's,
Exactly.
we have enough space everywhere. So that's not the issue. I just think that, and I would just be honest, a lot of it, of course we know it's politics, but they want to govern so much. They want to charge for space. Next thing, I don't want to put this out there, but we may have to pay for air next thing, It's just one of those things that I think that is so needed is that innovation,
Yes,
to
100%.
to be bold and not
And
to be afraid to think outside of the box. So
And like I said, the inspiration for me is coming from a story by, Trevor Noah in South Africa. And
wow.
so thinking outside the box also means thinking outside the country.
Mhm.
We've got to be looking at different cities outside the United States that, you know, the reason why we have all this land in Baltimore, we have so much vacant land, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but we're waiting for like the perfect building structure that meets all regulations to be on it before we can house people. Well, by that time, so many people are going to continue to be homeless. Why are we waiting for that kind? We have the land. The land is right here, sitting in
Right.
front of us. We can
Right.
figure out more organic ways to enable people to live in a stable environment. So, I don't want to see the tent on the side of the road that's here, in my neighborhood, because it's not a safe situation for that person. Not because I don't want them to like find a place to live, but I want to create a safer place for that person because, they're my neighbor. They're literally my
Right.
neighbor.
They
They're
were
down the
part of the
street.
community.
So why don't we create, and it doesn't have, I am okay if you live in a tent and a sleeping bag. I'm okay with that because I'm good with that. But I want it to be that you can then kind of stabilize your life. And the way that we do it right now, that's just not happening.
Yeah.
Right. And I think more importantly, like, although Baltimore was founded in 2018, so 5 years in, and folks are like, you should be further, you should be further. And I'm like, I'm not purchasing land and just concentrating poverty, so to speak. Like, I want a community that wants this. I don't want to Christopher Columbus anything. I don't want to gentrify anything. I want the community to support this idea, because at the end of the day, guys, I know SEMA doesn't love it when I say this, but if the community allows it, the laws don't matter because nobody's
100%.
calling the police. Everyone's supporting it. No one needs to talk about it. Do you know? They're all a part of it. We're all co-conspirators. Thank
Come
you.
on.
I'm okay with that, but I also want it to become legal. We can do both.
Both of them. Right. Right. I mean, because at the end of the day, when I'm not doing this, I want folks to still be able to, if they have to, live in tents and move up to a micro shelter and a tiny home and then do whatever it is that they want. Because to your point, Beverly, when they come through, they throw away everything. Me as a person with a whole house, if I lost my ID, my birth certificate, and my social security card, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so, as someone who's unhoused, how do you order those things? How do you
Yep.
call for those things? It's just not
I mean,
a
how
way.
many of us have had nightmares that stuff would get stolen?
Or
And
lost it, and it
imagine
was a
what you would
nightmare.
do. Yeah, I've had nightmares.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much. So working together, thinking about things innovatively and creatively, but also with the community and collaborating. So, Beverly, if you got some ideas for us, to let us know, because we are open and brainstorming all the time.
I
And
think
like I
bold,
said,
bold was the name of this webinar.
I think bold, it's so important for us to do what's in us, and what is really screaming at us. We hear that voice on the inside that's screaming about a cause, and so looking at the unhoused and being innovative and being bold is just so it's just so now. I always think about now, right? That's all we have right now is now. What can we do
right,
right now with what we have? And so just like what you were saying, one of the things that I would love to share with you all, or even just throw this out there, because you did mention it, is that we have a community needs assessment. We created a 40-question community needs assessment. And it's and I think about it when I say that, it's just it can be tailored for different situations. We have them tailored for different situations because we do work with different populations, all in the same demographic, so to speak, low income,
right,
dealing
yeah,
with traumas, but they can fall in different categories. So we do have maybe 3 different questionnaires, but it do kind of give us, and we use the Google Doc just so you can be able to get the whole, pie chart, the results from it. But just finding out really what the community wants, what they need, their ideas, and what they think, giving them an opportunity to be a part of the plan is one of the
right,
things that we do. Is like I said, we do have an advisory board, but we do also have um, we have 5 different committees that we have. So we have a healthcare committee, housing committee, education, safety, and economics. So we have 5 committees. And so with those different committees, we have them focusing on those different things. And in that, we try to make sure that they are all encompass of different age groups of people based on that needs. So they were actually created from that needs assessment. So,
right.
just based on the issues that they were dealing with and their strong suits, we kind of paired them all up, and depending on what they needed. So I'll
So
just
now,
suggest
Miss
that
Francis,
uh,
would you say that that is intellectual property or something you would share this needs assessment? Is
oh,
this
I would love to share it. And that's one of the things that I think is so important, is for us to put it out there. So that's what I was saying,
right?
like 3 different ones. So I can definitely send it over to you. It is and the good thing about doing it in Google Docs is, our demographic is can be different. You could put it in a text form or something. You can just text out to them, and
Right,
send it out to everybody, and do it with our outreach team and things like that, and you'll have all of the back end of it. So that's the only thing with the assessment. I can send it to you, but you can kind of copy it and create your own. But if you
yep,
could see ours, then we'll have, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I
I'll make
can
a copy
definitely,
of it.
yeah, I can definitely, and anyone out there, mamasafehaven.org. That's our goal, is to connect people with resources to help them get to the next level. So yeah, that's I just heard you say Christopher Columbus. It makes me think of what's going on here in DC. They putting stuff up, and don't nobody want to do that. That's not what we
Why
like.
did you put that
You
here?
didn't
Who
even
asked for that?
ask us.
And then you spent money on it. You
Why
spent
you got a
time
bike
and
lane? Why,
money
why we
and
got all these bikes?
resources.
We ride bikes in the street. So it's a lot of stuff that we dealing with, instead of like parking. Like, we need parking spaces. No, we got all these bike lanes and stuff. So it's crazy. But I think that's one of the things that we've been pushing, is just making sure that we tapping in with the community, and making sure, those ones that are not standing on the front line because they're working 2 and 3 jobs, right?
Right.
Let's go to their house, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, can you? Yeah, how you doing? We need your opinion on some things, and so yeah, so their voice can be heard.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Seema, if you want to say anything before we get out of here, we got about 4 or 5 minutes. I do want to say the it's up to me. It's all my fault. But I am putting together the flyer for the Parks and Recs, and you'll be able to register on Baltimore Homes. We're sending out invites this week, so folks will get those this week. And our weekly wellness walk will be at Lake Montebello Sunday at 9. Chapo had some issues, y'all. So Chapo is in the Bel Air Edison area, which is known to have some digital equity issues. So we might need to circle back on that issue and the disconnect there. But he was at the Agogi Project, which is another dope nonprofit. They teach kids how to kickbox and fight, but also how to restrain themselves and not make that the first action that they use when they go to protect themselves. So that's a really dope program. He's a mentor over there. Seema, you want to say anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, I think what's awesome is that you and I have that we actually sat down and created like a 4-plan approach. Like, this is what we're going to do this year. This is what we're going to do next year. This is what we're going to do in year 5. And everything that we do this year is in service to that thing that we're doing 5 years from now. And I'm grateful that we kind of have the same kind of wavelength, but also that we can learn from each other. Like, I had no idea about this entire platform, so that's exciting to me. So there's lots that I'm learning from you, and hopefully conversely, and I think that's awesome.
Yes.
So join us. Anybody else wants to learn from us, learn with us, please join us.
Facts. And Beverly, let me see, you have a minute. Do you have anything else you want to say before we get out of here and Robert comes on with the Robert report?
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that God is good.
All day, all the time.
Mama Safe Haven, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give a shout out to Donnie Glover. That's what I'm going to give a shout out to my brother Donnie Glover and BlackUSA.News.
Keeping us together.
Yes, girl. Donnie Glover is an amazing person that I met through Black Wall Street, and to be a part of BlackUSA.News and this platform has truly been powerful and just life changing. So just want to, thank you, Laquita and Chap. Seema, it's been a pleasure meeting you. And definitely looking forward to partnering, and want you all to come and be a guest on my show on even though I'm telling y'all Sunday at 8 a.m. I have felt in my spirit that it's time for me to change my Sundays and get a new date. So I'm gonna talk to Donnie about my new day.
Okay.
Change it from Sundays because I like the rest. But just giving God the glory. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to take a field trip out there one day, someday. So don't even worry about it. Okay.
Come on now. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate all of you for joining us, and we will be back same bat time, same bat channel next Monday, 7. Tune in to Shared Space, and I appreciate y'all. See you, love you, bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Blessings.